Oh, look at that. It's like I'm getting it wrong already. So, yeah, so it seems like I'm by myself again today, or I forgot which account Nita got banned from Facebook again. So, I might have sent a good morning message to the wrong account. So I have to wait to see if the other account is what is actually her unbanned account. So I don't know what's going on. So I think she is still what is it? She's still mourning the loss of the one strawberry that she was able to grow, and I guess she just needs space in this difficult time. Or the one blueberry she was able to, raspberry she was able to grow took her out. So I don't know. We'll find out soon. Oh my goodness. So good morning, everybody. On this, it's Monday, May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. Oh my goodness, for all those who participate and all for the lapsed Catholics who end up who end up answering that phrase out of habit. So, oh my goodness. So yeah, so today's going to be another one of those episodes. So I guess I might as well fake that I'm doing this right by throwing up the intro. So and I am definitely not ready for this, but let's do it.
I have anxiety. That means I'm in my shell and have a hard time expressing myself. I find it difficult to engage with others. So everyone shut the up because my anxiety is up here right now.
Up here. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So good morning, everybody. Oh, good morning, Grant. Hello, and hello, Lou, and happy birthday, Lupons. Everybody tell Lupons happy birthday. Yes, R.I.P. the strawberry. And yes, which reminds me, I do have Monsterotica this week. And hello, little Dixie. Good morning. Good morning. And yes, I see you, our beautiful eyeball people watching from regions beyond. If you are joining from Facebook, please come on over to YouTube. Join the sexy people in the chat. Keep them company. And while you're here, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever any of our shows go live. Maybe maybe YouTube will notify you better than I can with Nita. Oh my goodness. So yeah, so hold on. Let me just now I have to do everything by myself. And I of course completely forgot to put my links in the chat, which I am putting in the chat right now. Here we go. So there we go. There we go. So my links are going in just completely. Another messy live stream for you to keep you guys busy. So, oh my goodness. So might as well. So good morning, everybody. Hello and everything. My name is Daphne Lage, and I'm a cartoonist, illustrator, and comic book artist. Has self-publishing fantasy comics since 1992. I'll let you do the math. I am known for the furry fantasy adventure Tall Tales, which can be read at Tall Tales, that's TAILS online.com. And I am also known for my medieval fantasy drama, Eagle Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn, which you can also read online at eagleworks.com, EGOWORKS. And for those who have been following the previous Kickstarter for issue 12 out of this 16 issue series, thank you everybody for supporting the campaign. Pretty much everybody's books have been shipped out except for the 4 sketch covers that I am working on today. So hopefully I'll be able to get these out before I leave for Monsterotica this week. And also for those of you who missed the campaign, but have no fear. The launch page for Eagle Raven Volume 3 is on Kickstarter right now. It's a pre-launch page. The link, I just posted the link to the chat. So this is for Volume 3, collecting issues 9 through 12. So if you missed the previous campaigns, you'll be able to catch up not only with 9 through 12, but the entire series. Because all of the trades, all 3 trade paperbacks will be available on this campaign. So you can pick up the entire series and not have to worry about whether you missed anything. So yeah. Oh, and also one more thing too. We also have Rod Espinosa's Adventure Finders, the first volume of his currently Patreon exclusive webcomic. That it is the first book being produced by Indie Comics Network. And the link is in the chat and in the show notes as well. So if you're into fantasy and kind of like a D&D type of adventure of a group of kids who go out into the world for the first time and find more than they bargained for, the first volume of this series is on Kickstarter, is live on Kickstarter right now, and it has less than 3 weeks to go. I'm actually excited about this project, and I'm the one putting it together. So Rod is in the Philippines, and he can't run a Kickstarter, so we offered to help him with it. And I've been putting together the book. You know, he sends me the pages, and I am very excited to get a hard copy of this book. And I'm seeing it already. I'm reading it as I'm putting it together. But I'd really like to get a hard copy of this. So like I said, the links are in the chat and in the show notes. And Grant, what's Grant up to? Setting up files for League of Cryptids #4 to send to the printers. There you go. So I guess was that also on Kickstarter recently? So I guess if anyone wants to check out League of Cryptids, you can go to Kickstarter and find Grant's book and get it from him. Either still on late pledge. Are you on late pledges? Or directly from him later on. So yeah, it's been an interesting week. I'm still we're still getting the hang of the new normal that's going on here. It's been a couple of weeks since. Okay, so Grant says it is in late pledges. So if you want, my books came in, so I'm in fulfillment mode. So there you go. So Melissa is in fulfillment mode as well for with The Alchemist of Aurelia, right? So it was a hardcover book. So so I hope that the whole printing overseas thing went really well. Obviously, it went well if you got your books. And it's not in the bottom of the ocean somewhere to keeping Fantagraphics companies. So, so I'm just, getting used to the new normal here. We're almost, what the heck? Did I spill something on my shirt or something? I was messing with ink before, so I'm hoping I didn't get any ink on myself. Because I'm working on, my sketch covers for Eagle Raven. I've been cleaning my pens and just getting them ready to use them. And it's always a messy affair using rapidographs. I mean, it's bad enough that I can't find parts for these anymore. Melissa was saying, low-key, I was expecting there to be a catastrophe at some point in the process. Well, Luckily there wasn't. Luckily there wasn't. And also I hear that you're using Quinn, right? So that Quinn or Shin actually is what they're called. Shin. It's Quin. I hear that they're really good, and I know that when we did we didn't do the Tenchi Muyo books, but when the publishers who were reprinting our Tenchi Muyo work, um, was you know uh that they used Quinn as well, and they said that it was a great process. So I guess if anyone is looking, yeah, I think it's Shin, I think it's pronounced Shin, um that if anyone is interested in looking to do printing overseas, where it can be significantly less expensive, although the ship to kind of get you on the shipping. But even then, it's like if you're wanting to print your comics or your books in bulk, they'll check them out. It's I think it's like Quin, and they'll be able to help you there. So Grant uses Quinn as well. Melissa says would recommend. Oh, there you go. And yeah, that's what I hear, that they're really good with that. Another thing that I think would be and hello art victim, hello, yes, rapidographs. Yeah, so like I said, I was cleaning these out, which yes, they're incredibly messy, but I pretty much swear by these, and I will put up with the mess to get to get the work that I like, the quality that I like. The only thing though, and I got to be really careful with these, because it seems that Kohinoor, who makes these pens, I guess like they're they're in like I don't know, like the pieces are hard to find now. Like everything is out of stock everywhere. And I heard that there was like some kind of bottleneck happening that kind of like backed up, like they're not producing enough, or there's something wrong with one of their machines, so they haven't been able to manufacture pieces for this for these pens in a bit. I mean, I'm hoping they do get back to that, because it's like, I'm always buying new pieces and I can't find anything right now. So I have to take care of the pens that I have in order to do the work that because in the end I've tried all sorts of different pens, and the closest that I've come to finding a pen that would be the most similar to it is the Faber-Castells. These are actually like felt, but like felt tip or something, but they use like actual ink in these, so they work kind of like rapidographs, but the closest. Yeah, that's what I tried doing too, going on eBay. And I can find a lot of used ones, but the whole point of buying new is that people, like if they're selling used, I don't know how much they took care of the pens. So yeah, so when I can find them, I find new ones, I try to pick them up, because it's been a while since the parts have been sold out. So sometimes I find some, sometimes I don't. um Luckily, like in the past, I've bought like several of particular nibs that I use a lot, and like I said, I have the Faber-Castells in a pinch. So that's let's see. Yeah, so that's what I've been like, getting back, getting back into. So I have like 4 sketch covers, and I have 4 more commissions for House of Bob, which I just realized has been taking me a little bit longer than I thought. But then again, I did have a lot of interruptions, and I did give everyone a heads up. But I'm hoping to get everything done, all my commissions, all my sketches, by the end of this month, so that I can get back to my regular schedule. Whatever that schedule was. I'd say the other thing that I was working on is Eagle Raven issue 13. So even though the next campaign is for volume 3, I am currently, I'm hoping to get Eagle Raven issue 13 finished by the time volume 3 goes live on Kickstarter. And I'm officially halfway through that issue. And for those of you who are not familiar with my series, it's Eagle Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn, is a story of a unicorn princess exiled into the mortal realm who trains to become a knight, hoping to win a king's favor and save her people. And the series is 16 issues, and I'm on issue 13 right now, so we don't have that much left to go to complete the series. And yeah, and to tell you the truth, I can't finish this fast enough because, like I said, before, I'm so far ahead in the story that comes after, in the stories that comes after, that it really, I'm so impatient to finish the 16 issues, because I had this technically sketched out and completed technically about 2 years ago. And I've just been working on, just inking and coloring since then. So yeah, I'm ready to have this done so that I can get to the novelization, which I'm still working on. And then there's the sequel, which is going to be an illustrated novel. And then it's like I have some other stories too, but I haven't decided how I'm going to put those together, whether it's going to be comics or more illustrated novels. Haven't decided. I've been really binging illustrated novel content online. And, I really, really do, like the idea of creating this hybrid product that's kind of it's an illustrated novel. It's in the title, So, and the thing is, speaking of, patience, right? Because a novel is a lot easier for me to write than it is for me to draw a comic. A comic takes significantly longer than me actually writing out a prose novel. So that's where I'm kind of leaning towards after, I finished this initial series. But, never say never, because there are some stories that I think would work better as a comic book than as a novel. But I'm not going to really know that until I'm in the thick of it. So, and like I said, I realized that, sometimes I just don't have the patience to do the type of work that I want to do. Although I was able to do something really quickly yesterday that had been bugging me. Like, I had been wanting to do this, and I had wanted to play around with doing some actual animated stuff, like little animated graphics or GIFs or whatever. Oh, it's would you ever do an Eagle Raven annual where other artists draw short side stories? That's a nice idea. I have toyed around with the idea because God knows I have a lot of these little stories that I would like other people, that I probably could get other people to do. But like I said, never say never. I do like the idea, and there does come a point where it's you know what? It's it would be nice to see other people do stories based on this. Based on it, kind of part, kind of I don't know, maybe collect them along with the Tales from the Outer Kingdoms shorts, where it's all the collected shorts are put together in one book, which is something I want to do as well. So yeah, but we'll definitely see. Like I said, I'm more really hyper focused on finishing the 16 issues so I can get them out of the way and kind of clear my head a bit. But like I said, it's so the thing that I've been playing around with, I had wanted to do, was doing kind of little animated just things, it's something really simple. I watch while I'm working, I usually watch Visenia, her streams, and this woman's constantly doing something, and she's been doing a lot of little animated graphics for her live streams, as notifications or something. And and the thing is, I know I can do them, but my impatience kind of keeps me from really doing them. But I've just been kind of something's been really nagging at me to do something. So if you don't follow me on Facebook, so what so yesterday I just decided, let's screw it. Let me just like do something really quick, which technically is not really quick, but it's like, let me just do something really quick, just to kind of like get that bug like out a little bit. And then just, kind of like, then it's like, okay, then it's like, I can kind of like think about it. I can push it further down the road. So, let's see. Let's see. So share screen. So so yesterday I just decided to just mess with something, because what I was doing, right, I had been collecting like little animated GIFs of just like I said, just really short, trying to, just like, so because when you open up a GIF in Photoshop, it actually separates out all the frames so that I can actually see what the sequence is, and kind of like, and then like the idea is just kind of like trace, or kind of like just copy each sequence just to kind of fake an animated whatever. And because like oh my god, I've seen people do that with Don Bluth stuff. Like they'll take like just like a 30-second sequence from like a Don Bluth movie. They'll they'll draw in their own characters, and they'll just literally trace every movement in the sequence. And some people can take months just to do this 30-second sequence that they're tracing. So I thought, well, one, that's kind of, like, oh, that would be a good idea to kind of like get into the practice of it, kind of like get a sense of it, and then try to do it myself. So what I had done was I had taken like an animated GIF, and I had, like I said, I had broken down the sequence, and then just like really, really quickly sketched out the sequence. And what I noticed was that some parts of the sequence were just duplicates of the previous thing. So actually, I was actually drawing half. I think this is what they call drawing on twos, where it's that like you need 12, there are 12 parts in a sequence, but you actually just have to draw 6, because you're running each thing twice. And that's what I kind of noticed on this sequence that I was doing. So this one, I really didn't want to spend a lot of time on this. I think like just this took maybe an hour and a half, just trying to figure it out. It was a little confusing at first, but I think I pretty much got the gist of it. And this is what I ended up getting. Let's see. Oh, is it not? Oh, okay, hold on. There we go. So I just got the gist of it, just by doing this little sequence. I think it's like what, 3, 6, 9. It's like 3, 6, 9, 10. So it's 10 frames, right? And and it's just kind of like I said, I did just enough to kind of like get the sequence going. And it's like, and of course, if you're familiar with it, she's kind of a little more chibi-ish in this thing, because I was copying like a little chibi thing. And it's like, oh, it's like, I didn't want to do something realistic anyway. So like her more standard character design. So I go, oh, this is fine. So I'll just like make it a simpler style of her, and then just have it going. Let's see. So Art Victim says, I love GIFs and little animations. I use Adobe Timeline. Well, this is Photoshop. This is the timeline in Photoshop. I know you don't like Adobe, but I think Clip Studio has been comparable. I also play on Giphy at times. Well, the only thing I don't like about Adobe is the cost. I mean, I think I'm like paying like $600, $700 a year on the entire suite. So yeah, that's kind of a drag. But other than that, I mean, I use these without a problem. Like I'm not hung up on using them or not using them. I really do like the Adobe suite. Photoshop, I pretty much trained myself on Photoshop to do comics. Clip Studio just made it a lot easier. and I do most of my work on Clip Studio, but there's a lot of things that I do bring back into Photoshop, just because I'm more familiar with it. But yeah, so this is Photoshop, and yeah, some programs will help by generating a frame in the middle of two frames. Yeah, I just haven't. I just did it manually here. Like I said, it's like I just wanted to kind of like I had this little bug to do something, and I think that like this gives me enough that I can kind of like figure out where to put in like maybe like more in between scenes so that I can just so I could just kind of like smooth it out a bit. But like again, it's like I'm so impatient now. Um and the funny thing is like this took me like I said, it's like I really struggled with this because I don't know, like I don't know, the whole thing about like onion skinning, and it kind of like threw me off, and I was having a little bit of a hard time with it. Although what's ironic is that I accidentally, when I was doing a sequence in the comic, I had accidentally done an animated sequence without even thinking about it. So it's just kind of funny how sometimes a sequence just comes really natural and I just end up doing it without even thinking about it. And then when I deliberately make the effort to animate something, it's like oh my god, it's like too much. So and it's just really funny because like I said, like this particular sequence, so this is the original sequence that I did for the comic, and I had just recently inked it and colored it, so that page is like, because this is for issue 13, and I was just watching, and I wanted this sequence because there was this thing that Wendy Pini did in one of her books, one of the early ElfQuest books, where she kind of did something like a little animated sequence, sort of Skywise like trying to dance, or he was doing like a little acrobatic thing. Um, and I had wanted to do something similar to that because I liked the way that looked. So I go, oh, it's like I do have this dance sequence. So, let me just do something similar to that, so you get kind of like the sense. And of course I went overboard with it because I think Wendy's page only had like 4 or 5 of the sequence, and of course I had to do this many. So, and all I did is I was watching, like I spent an entire day watching like ballroom dance videos and sketching while I was watching these videos, because it's like, okay, so these are the poses and blah blah. And I ended up with this. And before I knew it, I realized it's like, can I animate this? Can I just put these together? Because it was just kind of funny how it does look like an animated sequence. And of course, and this is the original sketch version, of course, just out of curiosity, I decided that I was going to like, oh, let me see what happens when I put the sketches together. And lo and behold, I accidentally did an animated sequence. And I remember when I first did this, um, oh my goodness, Mike Jimmy, he was a friend of friend of ours. He from Switzerland, no, Sweden, Netherlands, from the Netherlands. He's from the Netherlands, and he actually asked me for the sequence so that he could in between it a bit more, and he did that in Clip Studio. I don't have, I have to like find the files for that, but like where this, I don't know, what was this, like 12, let's say 3, 6, 9, no, this was also 10, this is also a sequence of 10, and I think his came out to like 60, or like it came out to something a lot. He put in a lot more in betweens than I had I had expected. So that was me doing an accidental animated sequence. While this one, was this one like really threw me for a loop. This one like really like, and I think that's when it comes to doing trying to do animation, I think what it is that I made it too difficult for myself. Instead of just sketching out a sequence and just going, yeah, it's like this. I thought too much about it, and I made it more complicated than it really needed to be. Because apparently this came out fine. So, yeah, so I thought that that was a fun thing. Yeah, best accident. Yeah, best accident to have. you know so it's like, and I thought that, I thought it came out pretty good for an hour and a half worth of work. And honestly, because of course I always have to take a dig, I think that this process is a lot more interesting than dumping shit in grok and having it vomit out something for you. Because it's like, what are you doing? It's like, if you wanted to learn something, that's not the way to learn. Yes, happy. We are all about the happy little accidents here, So now what I just need to do is take the color version of that other sequence, put it together, and then, like, just put that sequence together and animate it. At least it'll be in color. So I was like, really happy with this, because honestly, I'm more sad. Like I said, I'm more satisfied with this than having something slopped out that I couldn't do anything with, even, you know. So yeah, so that's what let's see, yeah, so that was a thing that I was kind of like up to. Um, so yeah, so another thing though, there was like a very quick conversation that me and Jose were having um about, the process, and about, like, making things complicated or not complicated when you don't need to. um so there was a discussion about artists using creating their own assets, right? To, especially when oh, it's like art victim said, it's super fun, are you going to then color that and all? I go, yes, I that's what I want to do. So now I want to, like, tidy it up a bit more, to see if I can kind of get it to be a little bit smoother. um but I probably just need to add like one or two more pieces to it, to kind of like get it smoother. So, and then once I'm satisfied with it, yeah, I want to color it up, because I do want to make it. I do want to, like, be able to put it on the screen when I watch. It's, like a fun little thing. So so we were talking about artists who create their own assets, which is, ever since I started using Clip Studio, that's what I started doing. That I would take pieces of the comic book pages that I'm working on, and depending on what I'm, like, drawing, it's like, if I know I'm going to use, I'm going to have to draw something over and over and over again. What I'll do is I'll just draw like a master version of that thing and then save it as an asset. And then when I need to use it again, I just bring it in and just like cut and paste wherever I need it. Usually in my case, it's either kind of like either like a background element, or although I do reuse backgrounds sometimes as well. Like, I'll do the equivalent of making, like, if I need like a small scene, right, what I'll do is I'll expand it, right? I'll draw out the entire background, right? And then I'll ink that up, I'll color it up, and then like in animation, where I'll just use the sections that I need where I need them. So instead of like redrawing backgrounds all the time, I just have like this master background that I just use, and I just take pieces wherever I need. Right. And like I said, and I've done this, and especially now with these issues, there's a particular weapon that I need it to look exactly the way it does. And it has a little bit of detail in it. And instead of having to draw that dagger over and over and over again, I just made a master dagger. And then where I need it, then I cut it, I paste it in, and then I don't have to worry about it, and it's exactly the way I need it. And and of course, and this is not a new thing. I mean, artists, comic book artists have been doing that for a while, especially digitally, where it's like, you know, because it's like, you draw like maybe like 5 people, and then you just repeat the people to make a crowd scene instead of drawing all 100 people. You're just, and it's like, it's just a very common technique to save time, especially if you do have, like a lot of things going on. And it's like, you know what, if you don't have to redraw it, why redraw it, and it saves a lot of time. But but Jose was talking about how it's like that there are people who they really don't like hearing that. They really don't like hearing that that artists have these particular shortcuts. Like, oh, and I remember like a conversation he was having with somebody who had, I guess, gotten like some artwork back, and they were concerned about a background. It's like, does this look like the same background as in this page? And and Jose's like going, who cares? It's like, what difference does it make? I mean, it's like why is that an issue? It's just a background. If it's just the same background, if they're in the same spot, then what's the big deal, right? But the implication of the conversation was that, well, I paid for an artist to draw stuff and he didn't draw that background. So in a strange way, I didn't get my money's worth, which I think is the most stupidest thing, right? To kind of like, but the thing is though, is that, we're still like every couple of months, I still see online the whole, like people coming out, saying that's like, oh, if you use reference, you're cheating. If you trace, you're cheating. And it's like, oh, tell me you're an amateur without telling me straight you're an amateur. Right. And, and it's like the fact that there are people who literally think that using reference is cheating is just like, oh, well, that's why you suck. In the end, it's like, that's the only answer I can have to that, because like, oh, well, then now you know why you suck, because you don't use reference. And even like professionals like Neil Adams, it's like, why draw a lion when you can just trace a lion and just draw it and then just ink it in your style, um I mean, it's like, it's kind of like the assets that Clip Studio Paint has. I don't like that. You see, what I don't like is when people use those assets, those 3D assets, just straight without doing anything to them. They're just plopping them in, or they're using assets that are way beyond what their actual skill level is. So you have kind of like really wonky looking characters, and then you have like these Akira Otomo style backgrounds. It's kind of, it's like, what are you doing? Right. It's like tracing as practice also helps you learn how to draw the things you don't know how to draw, God forbid, right? Because also, yeah, it's like, because you end up learning that muscle memory as well. So it's like eventually you do enough tracing, you'll get to the point where you can draw the thing without having to trace it. You get, if you're doing it correctly, that's eventually what you'll end up doing. And then it's like, like just even like, oh, here's a pose in a photo that I like. Let me sketch out really quick the figure and then adjust it to what I need it. And there's people who get uptight about that too. Like, oh, if you're a real artist, you have to do everything from memory. And it's like, and again, and it's like my answer to that, it's like, oh, this is why you suck. Because you don't understand this process, that you're literally magical thinking that this is, that art is some magical thing, right? When actually it's a learning process, it's a learning skill. It's like, and if you practice enough, however you need to practice, then the skill meshes. That's like saying, oh, that baby's cheating because it's learning to walk by watching other people walking. I mean, how stupid does that sound, right? Yeah. I don't mind people doing that for posing, but sometimes the comic looks stiff. I see that in a lot of web comics. Yeah, especially when they're using the 3D models, the figure models, right? Which, yeah, it's like that's the thing you really have to like be careful with, because the mistake that a lot of amateurs make is that they trace the model exactly, that they think that the model is there, it has to be exact, right? When that's not the case. The model is just a base, right? And it's like, and then you have to draw, when you draw on top of it, you have to make your adjustments accordingly. So yeah, so if you're getting like really really stiff posing, that's because you're the person doing that is depending too much on the base as opposed to adjusting where needed. And usually, and also a lot of times too, what they forget is that they draw everything according to the base instead of realizing that clothes sit on the body that's not vacuum sealed. So, but that's the skill part of it, that the that you know what goes where, right? That you know how to use the models, right? Glenn Grant says, one of my art teachers in college used to say, are you using the reference or are you letting the reference use you? That's true. In other words, tracing should just be the beginning of the process. Exactly. Not the end result. So, because I remember, but the thing is though, yeah, so people, amateurs and people who don't draw, who don't understand the process, they like yeah, it's like they look at this they don't understand what they're looking at when they see an artist tracing or using models or anything. It's like that's kind of like where a lot of the bullshit arguments for AI comes in, because these are people who don't understand what the process actually is. They just think it's just about a final result, and it's like, no, there's a lot going on in between that you're not getting by just using generative tech. And that's why you're never going to understand what it is that we're doing, and you're never going to truly get the result that we're getting, because you're not understanding what's actually going on. Because I remember at conventions I used to do like sketches for people, right? And to save myself a lot of time, I would pre-sketch in a pose, right? And the problem was that, so I would have a stack. So that way, if anybody asked for something, I would just grab one and I would just use the pose, so I wouldn't have to think about it, right? But I had to hide those sketches, because people who would see them would automatically, oh, you're cheating. You're cheating. You're not actually drawing. It's like, it's just a stick figure. Of course I'm actually drawing this. you know it's not like I can give them my base sketch and say, here, draw it yourself, if you think what I'm doing is cheating, right? Which of course is, again, it's stupid. But kind of like not getting lost. Yeah. Yeah, I should get onto the topic though. Yeah, it's like Art Victor. I love this is the reference using you and vacuum sealed clothing. That reminds me of Team Rocket. Draw her naked and draw it colored, the clothing colored. Yeah, exactly. And that's not how it, right. It's yeah. So the other thing that really that I guess that I really wanted to talk about today, right, was, so I'm working on all this stuff, right? And I'm working on, my comics and my novelizations, right? And one of the things that I really do enjoy, when I'm doing my work, when I'm doing just anything, whether I'm writing or I'm drawing my comics, is that I love Easter eggs. I love putting Easter eggs in my work. I mean, it's like there's this whole thing in marketing where it's like, if you're trying to explain your comic or your book to somebody, like you're at a convention, right? The easiest way to do that is to compare your book to something else. that the person in front of you may recognize. So it'll be easier for them to kind of place what you're doing in their interest hierarchy, pretty much, right? And this is the reverse. So this was the reverse of what I was talking about. This is actually something I've seen a lot of artists hate, where it's like, oh, how dare you compare myself to something else, and pretty much the reason why they get uptight about that is because of this whole mythology of originality, where it's like, if you're able to say your book or your comic reminds me of something else, what you're saying, that what they take it as, because you're not saying that, is, did you steal that from something else, or you're not being original. Well, Imaginos, that's something a little bit different. That's something a little bit different. But that's unfortunately, that's a thing. That's a thing. And you got to watch out for those guys too, because that we could have an entire different conversation about that, about, like drawn lives don't matter, but Jesus Christ, can we please have some standards? I understand that these characters do not exist, that it's just a drawing, but boy, are there people pushing some lines here that I don't want to cross. And as an artist, we have a right, to not cross that. It's like, yes, they're imaginary characters, but Jesus Christ. But like I said, we can save that topic for another episode. So it's like, so there are people artists who don't like it, or creators don't like it. It's like, oh, well, this is like this, that's or the other thing. That could be toxic nostalgia too, depending. Well, you know what? I know exactly what you're talking about. I'll try to fit it in. But but what I'm talking about, right, is that whole, like, on one hand, people have this obsession with originality, but on the other hand, they want things to be exactly the way they remember it. And that could be both the creator or the person looking at your book. So it's kind of like, so it's like, so like I said, I like the Easter eggs, putting Easter eggs in. Like, I like to put the thumbprints of everything that ever inspired me in my work. Well, like I said, whether it's writing or whether it's in the artwork, like, I really don't shy away from my inspirations, and that's really how I look at it. It's like, look, it's like, these things inspired me, so it makes sense that they're a part of what I create. And it's like, and it's not like a 1-to-1, and that's the difference. Like, it's like, it's like I've said that Ego Raven started off as a She-Ra fanfic, right? And, and there's certain elements of She-Ra in Ego Raven, the comic, and in the novels, but it's not a 1-to-1. Like, you would kind of like, I would like to think that I put it in there enough that people would go, wait a minute, is this what I think it is? Is that, it's like, and it could be, and, and it's like, and I don't mind it when people actually find those Easter eggs. Like, oh, wait, were you inspired by ElfQuest? Did you read ElfQuest? I was like, the hell? Yeah, yes, I did. Yes, I did. And, like other things, like, it's like, if you're familiar at all with The Last Unicorn, those, it's all over. It's smeared all over, so it's like, I don't have a problem, like referencing my nostalgia as inspiration, because it's like, that's where it came from. So it's like, yeah, I grew up on Dungeons and Dragons and She-Ra and The Last Unicorn and The Secret of Nim and ElfQuest and Rocket Raccoon, and it's like, and certain characters have traits from everything, mixed in, and it's like, yeah, and I'm not going to shy away from that, and I'm never going to deny it. and because like if it's true, what am I going to deny, right? But then it's like you have people where it's like if you're going to reference something, it's either all or nothing from them. It's either an exact one-to-one to whatever it is that they're nostalgic about, or it's trash. And honestly, I think that that's kind of like a stupid way to think, because the whole point of creativity is to take what inspires you, to take what you're nostalgic about, and then to create your own version of it, to create your own. Yeah, it's just like it's like, because it's like, yeah, it's like you're going to be taking this thing and you're going to be running it through a filter of your own experiences, and then that's what comes out. And the fact that there are people who will, it's like, no, it has to be a one-to-one. Oh, then you're not doing it right. It's like, no, I'm doing it correctly. It's just that I'm doing it correctly to what I'm doing it for. I remember getting into kind of it wasn't really an argument. We didn't get too much into detail about it, but this person was talking, they were talking about mythology, right? And talking about being accurate to mythology. And if you really think about it, if you put like rub two brain cells together about the idea, there's no such thing as accurate mythology. There really isn't. I mean, it's like you even look at, like folk tales and things like that. There is no accurate version of anything, because just the nature of what it is, it changes from, it changes from person to person telling the story. It changes from as it jumps cultures. It's like the nature of this material is change. So to say that, oh, this is accurate mythology, it's kind of a silly thing to say, because it's like, unless there's an actual archaeological reference for it, it's accurate to what? So the example that I would give is so the example that I would give is back, it's like, you know what it is, does anybody complain that Disney's Loki and Thor are not really accurate to the mythology? I mean, has that ever been an argument? But for some reason, if like individual create, but then again, there are people who think that Marvel created Loki and Thor, like they made up that shit. So ignorance is ignorance, I guess. But it's like what they did was they took the mythology and then they made their own version of it. But to say that these are inaccurate, it's like, no, they are accurate. These are the Marvel versions. This is the Marvel version of Norse mythology. Just like they have their Marvel version of, Greek mythology or whatever, and it's like, they're not wrong. They're just based on something, and they built their own mythology on it, right? Because I remember like several years ago, when the Loki television series was coming out, and there was this whole kerfuffle over Disney trying to trademark the name Loki, and everyone's like going, the fuck you are. I mean, like, Loki is mythological. It's part of the name, is part of the culture, and just like Thor, because they don't own the trademark to Thor, they own the trademark to the mighty Thor, right? So that because that was the only way they were able to do it. So for them to even try to just, oh no, Loki is going to be our name, it's like, no, it's not. It's like, but this is just, again, another example of, a corporation trying to steal culture away, like our right to culture. I mean, it's like our right to mythology. I mean, it's ridiculous, So I don't think that that they were able to get away with that. But I had said that I had made a joke at the time that it's like, I think what everyone needs to do is make up their own Loki character and use it. It's a kind of like do like an artistic I am Spartacus type of thing, where it's like you know, and in the end, it's like that's how I ended up. So I ended up doing my own Loki character, and now he's one of my favorite characters in Eagle Raven. You know, I made him he became a very important character in my canon for Eagle Raven. You know, yes, Disney's that's what they that's what they want. That's what they want. And also that's kind of the end game with the whole generative tech thing, where it's like corporations own the culture, they own they own creativity, and then they license that out to you. They can't be bothered to license out our creativity, but they want to license it back to us, right? But you know, they got a long way. They got a long way to go with that. With that, you know, with that fantasy version of their tech that in the end can't do what they claim it does. So, you know, hey, 10 years, right? 10 years, always 10 years. You ever notice how did you ever notice how all these stupid tech companies, when they come up with something like this, they always say in 10 years it's going to be, everyone's going to be using it. They said this about self-serving, you know, like self-service, you know, checkouts, right? Which even when like a lot, like even though we're seeing it in a lot more places, just as many places are taking it out. Like Walmart completely removed self-checkout, you know, in some areas. And it's the same thing with, you know, a lot of, you know, places, right? And then they were talking about, oh, in 10 years, all our cargo is going to be delivered by self-driving cars, right? Everything's going to be a self-driving car, right? They said, oh, 10 years, in 10 years. Then it's like in 10 years, we're going to be on Mars, right? On 10 years, Mars, 10 years, Mars, right? And then it's like in 10 years, crypto is going to be, we're all going to be using crypto, right? In 10 years, NFT, everyone's going to be owning NFTs, right? And now they're saying the same shit about generative tech. Oh, in 10 years, it's like, yeah, what's so special about 10 years, right? And how is it working out for all those previous things, right? All those previous things. But that's not my point. So yeah, so it's like, you know, but there are people who say with a straight face that it's like, oh, it's not accurate to the mythology. And it's like, it doesn't have to be, because I'm not one. It's like, I don't have to be accurate to Norse mythology because I'm not writing Norse mythology, you know? So my Loki, my Eros, my, you know, anything else, I even have my own Thor in there. It's a goofy dipshit. You know, it's like, there, you know, it's like I'm not doing a dissertation on Norse mythology. I'm not interested in the, you know, archaeological record of Norse mythology. That's not what I'm writing. So I don't have a responsibility to be accurate to it. You know, there are academic versions of mythology if that's what you want, but you're not going to find that in my book, you know, you know, but it's like, you know, for you to kind of like hold that against me has nothing to do with me. You could try to hold it against me, but it has nothing to do with me. You know, if you don't want to read it, that's on you. You know, it's kind of like how I take like folk tales, right? I take folk tales about fairies and elves and things. And then what I did was I pretty much took all my misunderstandings about these things and then just turned it into my versions of the stories, you know. And it's like, again, you know, it's like elves, fairies, whatever. I'm not doing some kind of academic dissertation on this stuff, so I have no responsibility of being accurate to whatever it is someone is claiming I need to be accurate to, you know. So you know, so it's like, so I don't, you know, so the thing is that, you know, and the thing is though, nobody should be going to fictionalized media expecting a documentary. The only thing that should be a documentary is a documentary. But like this whole like based on a true story shit, always ignore that, because it's like, yeah, it's based on a true story the way, you know, my final figure drawer, my final piece is based on the stick figure that I started off with. You know, I mean, it's like, I can't tell you how many times I've looked up the actual story that a movie was based on, and like 99% of it was made up. Like they took like the base story, and then they just made everything up to make their movie, right? But then they have the nerve to say based on a true story. They might as well say, well, we heard this somewhere. This happened somewhere, and we decided to make up our own version of it. So yeah, so you shouldn't be coming to fictional, even that's true, because yeah, I ended up finding out that there is no regulation for documentaries. All documentary is just a genre of whatever you're doing. It's just a genre, right? But it's not it's no more regulated than saying you're doing a fantasy movie, you know? So right, it's like I just want to do real hip hop shit in a cyberpunk setting and make it feel like authentic hip hop. Right. And the thing is though, it's like, but we know what hip hop is because we're still living with it. The people, most of the people who started hip hop, they're still alive. I mean, so we're able to actually like reference them and visual, and imagery, we're still able, that are still in our timeline, right? So we're able to get a certain accuracy, for that. Yeah, looking into the making of Super Size Me, it's complete bullshit. Yeah. That documentary completely changed how pretty much McDonald's ran their company, and it turned out that the guy made up all of the data. That it's like that he was using the documentary to pretty much cover up his extreme alcoholism. And that he didn't eat as much food as he was claiming. He didn't eat the food that he was claiming. It was just literally a cover for his alcoholism. And it was like, holy but yeah, all documentary is just a genre category. So yeah, so it's like, but the thing is though, when you're looking at everything else that's not a documentary, not in that genre, you should not be treating it. Nobody should be treating this media as fact, or it's like, oh, you have to, like the whole the whole controversy over the Odyssey, right? Where it's like people are freaking out that it's not accurate and this, that, and the other thing. It's like, look, the book is about the gods interfering, fucking with this guy. It's like, how are the gods accurate? you know, I mean, and I think, and I think like I kind of like understand what Christopher Nolan is trying to do. I'm not going to see the movie. I really don't care. But like the decisions that he's making, I understand. But also like the things that people are complaining about, I understand too. But at the same time, he's not making a fucking documentary. Not even the book was a documentary. So, so it's like, so either it's like you're respecting the creative process, that there is a creative process there, or you have a you problem. It's like in the end, that's what it boils down to. It's like, look, it's like either the creativity means something, or go do you. It's like that's really all it is. And and that's the thing. And the way I see people, like, they will only interact with things that are one-to-one to their nostalgia, to what they're, and that's part of the toxic nostalgia. Oh, I grew up with this, right? So any new version that they make is trash, right? And it's like, no, it's not trash. It's just a version different than what you grew up with. It's just you're not the audience anymore. And I think that that's where toxic nostalgia comes in. Where it's like where somebody says, oh, like they hate the new Godzilla movies because, oh, these are the Godzilla movies I grew up with. Fine, then go watch those fucking old, Godzilla movies with the rubber suits. Nobody's asking you to give a shit about the new Godzilla stuff. I love the new Godzilla stuff. I saw the old stuff too. It's like I like what they're doing with the new stuff. The fact that it's not 1-to-1 doesn't matter. Oh, like Dune. Dune is a good example. Right. The thing about for me about nostalgia is only about a feeling and not the actual imagery. Yeah, exactly. It's like they're upset. Like the new Godzilla doesn't make them feel the same way they did when they were kids watching old Godzilla. Again, that's a you problem. That's a you issue. And honestly, maybe look into therapy while you're at it. Instead of like constantly complaining about how everything is, oh, it's a personal affront because it doesn't cater to you specifically. So like Dune, right? So I read the books, love the books. Well, as long as Frank Herbert wrote it, I didn't read any of the stuff that his son tried to continue afterwards. Are the movies accurate to the books? Absolutely not. I mean, it's like but the thing is though, like, so you have the original version. Well, you have the first movie, Dune, which David Lynch did, or Alan Smithy, depending on if you're watching the theatrical version. But if you watch the uncut version, David Lynch did that. And there's a lot of things in the movie that's not in the books at all. But I give it a pass because Frank Herbert worked on the movie and he made changes that he felt made sense to his book, even though it wasn't accurate to the book, or at least the screenplay, the screenwriter. He worked with the screenwriter who came up with, like, the whole thing with the gun does not exist in the book. The with the voice, with the voice activated gun, it doesn't. I forgot what it was called. The weird weapon, right? I think it was called. They, but at the same time, it's like I was able to appreciate, because honestly, the Lynch version is still my favorite version. I appreciate what they did there, because the tone, it still kept the tone of the books, even though it wasn't accurate to the book, right? And plus the design sense was so crazy. It's like, how couldn't you, as a creative person, how could you not, enjoy that movie? Like, they just went absolutely batshit with the design work on David Lynch's Dune, right? So then you have the new Dune, right? You have the Villeneuve versions, right? Which, again, accurate only up to a point, because like they changed the whole storyline. They changed Paul's storyline. They changed Aaliyah's storyline, and it's like, sure, was I kind of like, oh, I'm disappointed. But at the same time, it's like, I kind of understand what he's doing. And let's see what happens. It's like, I like the first movie, really like the second movie, and I'm really looking forward to the third movie because I really want to see how his decision-making affects the story that was originally laid out in the novels, right? But I'm not, are there people going, oh, it's not exactly like the novels, so I'm not going to see it? It's like, okay, great. Do you want me to throw a party for you? Do you want me to get call Bella Hadid? I mean, it's like, so what? Okay, it's not accurate to the book. Go enjoy your life. So it's like, so I want to see like how he changes, or if he even references it at all, that it's like, Aaliyah is called Aaliyah the Knife for a reason. It's a not spoiler because it's in a book from the 70s. You should have read already. So Aaliyah the Knife is called Aaliyah the Knife because she's the one that kills Baron Harkonnen. It's either Harkonnen or Harkonnen. I think the actual pronunciation is Harkonnen, but I like the David Lynch pronunciation, but it's Harkonnen, you know. Um, so that's why she's called Aaliyah the Knife, right? But instead, Villeneuve gives that story to Paul. Paul kills his grandfather, essentially. He kills Baron Harkonnen. So now, and then it's like Aaliyah is not even born at that point. But now I'm curious as to, it's like, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, how are you going? Like, what, not even how are you going to fix this? Like, what decisions did you make? I'm curious about that. Although I definitely understand why everyone is stopping. Like the story pretty much stops at the end of Children of Dune and does not continue after that, because I don't think anybody wants to tackle the whole unhinged mess that is Leto the Second. I don't think anybody wants to like even try that whole thing. Emperor God, Emperor of Dune. I don't think anybody wants to try that. So it's like, it doesn't make, I mean, it's like, so if I was going to be some unhinged absolutist, right, I lose out on seeing creative decisions being made in real time. Right? I miss out on that and learning from that, because honestly, it's like, because people were kind of like all upset because he doesn't use the word jihad. And it's like, you know what, really, did you have to like, could you not rub those two brain cells together to understand why they changed that? I completely understand why they do not use that word in the movie. I completely understand that. There are just some things where it's like, you know what? It's okay if they don't use it. It's okay. We still get the gist of it. We still understand the context of it. When it's like, when Paul tells the Fremen, send them to paradise. We understand this, right? We're supposed to understand this. If you read Dune, that means you have the intellectual capacity to understand why these decisions were made. So, but yeah, again, like, also another source of toxic nostalgia, Star Wars, right? So I was just watching a video essay about Andor, right? And, and the thing is, and it's like, and I remember when Andor came out, that it was incredibly unpopular, because it was a Star Wars series that didn't suck the dick of Star Wars, to put it like that. That it's like, it did its own thing, or as an interview says, like, you didn't worship at the altar of the Star Wars Pope. It's like, no, they just did their own thing. And because of that, they were able to bring back storytelling to Star Wars, as opposed to, this is an extension of a valuable IP. And like toxic nostalgia are people saying, we want more original Star Wars films, we want more original Star Wars stories, which is absolutely insane just to even say, and then to turn around to Andor and say, not like that. It's like, and then what happens is that these people lose out on some really powerful storytelling, because no, this doesn't make me feel like how I did when I was 10 years old. Again, therapy. Highly suggest it. Because you're just telling me more issues about you than you are about this thing you're mad at. The same thing, like what happened with She-Ra, right? They created an entire new series of She-Ra for actual 10-year-olds, and grown-ass men got their panties in a twist over it, and it's like, bruh, you're not the demographic. But I think also that's kind of like a part of it too with toxic nostalgia, that the second nostalgia turns toxic is when part of that anger towards the new thing has more to do with you're not catering to me specifically and how I felt when I was 10 years old watching this, or 9 years old, that you're not catering to me specifically in a way that makes me remind me of why I peaked at 12. It's like, I mean, because really, some people be acting up like, holy shit, I get really therapy, really, you know. And I think that also sometimes when, so there's like this difference between nostalgia that you use for inspiration and nostalgia that that stifles what you're doing, because unless it's this and this, the story's not then it's not, I'm not going to do it. But why? Like, why does, like, changing the thing, right, yeah, the way, right, exactly, it's like, well, the whole X-Men 98 thing, it's like with what's his name, Gambit, in his little crop top, in his little slutty crop top, it's like, do you guys even remember the 90s? It's like, come on, you know um right, it's like, yeah, it's like the people who try to who didn't experience the 90s trying to recreate the 90s, and everybody who knew the 90s are like, oh, yeah, that's not how it was. But at the same time, there are certain elements that was like that, um it's kind of like like, because what it is like they're trying to get an aesthetic of a thing rather than the actual thing, you know um like the superficial trappings of it, like the thing that I found super irritating in Wonder Woman, whatever the fuck, what year that was, 88, whatever, or 8, or Wonder Woman 80, whatever the fuck that was. And it's like, and they show Steve Rogers in a suit and a fanny pack. And it's like, nobody dressed like that. Nobody wore a fanny pack with a suit. Stop it. It's like, this is somebody says, well, a fanny pack is 80s, it's like, yeah, but there was certain context as to how these things were used, how certain design elements were used. It wasn't just the night, like just anything from the 80s vomited up on top of each other, you know? So yeah, so so there's like, like certain things. So like I said, it's like nostalgia. I it's like I enjoy putting references to my nostalgia, you know, in, like in my work, but I'm not beholden to them. That's the thing. Like, as much as I love She-Ra, I cannot watch the original series again. I cannot. Same thing with the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. Absolutely cannot. I cannot. It's like I literally outgrew them. It's like, yeah, they don't hit the same because I'm not 12, you know? Um, you know, um, it's like, yeah, I mean, it just depends on what you're looking at. It's like, honestly, I couldn't get into the new Voltron. The second they did a fart joke, I was out, because it's like, Jesus Christ. It was like, I understand the audience are children, but do we really, did you need that? And it was just like, I couldn't get into it. And honestly, I didn't see any, what? Usually the new stuff I don't get into at all. I don't watch them at all. Like, I know like the new Masters of the Universe and stuff, and it's like, and I've seen things that's like, oh, that's nice, but like eh, I just don't have no real interest in watching them. Just like the old stuff I cannot watch. Although there's certain things that I can watch again. I can watch The Last Unicorn again. I can watch the Rankin and Bass stuff again. I can watch, The Secret of Nymph over again. I mean, it's like there's certain things. I mean, it's like, look, I mean, I even got like this is just so like this is I think this is like what I have a special edition version of The Last Unicorn, you know? And it's like and it's like this doesn't get old for me. This doesn't get old for me, you know? But it's like watching the old television series and stuff. You know what it is? It's like the whole concept of nostalgia is really weird for me because it's like a lot of people like kind of like take their nostalgia as like having to constantly relive that period. Because like the way like people have nostalgia for their high school years or colleges. Like I have no nostalgia for that at all. Actually, it's like I kind of like think that definitely Don Bluth does not go out of style either. And and it's like for me it's like the things that are really really nostalgic in that sense where it's like kind of like get a little melancholy because it's like you can never go home again pretty much. It's like it's kind of like like it was kind of like more moments that I have nostalgia for, not really things, not television shows, you know. So when people kind of get unhinged about shows and movies and stuff, like I don't understand that, and especially if they go after the new version of that thing. It's like, look, that new version has nothing to do with you. But again, like I said, that's probably what they're really mad at. That for some reason they think that everything has to cater to their sense of nostalgia exactly one to one, or it shouldn't exist. And it's like again, therapy, that's a you problem. I just think that when it comes to creative endeavors, everything's fair game. It's like I should be able to take mythology, fairy tales, whatever, and turn it into my own thing. Take the bits and pieces of things that I love and like incorporate it, into my own thing. Now, mind you, I'm not talking about like outright copying, I mean, it's like those little reverential references, um, and because in the end, it's like that's because it's like that's the difference between us and the Gen Tech, right? Is that, when we take in material, right, the filter is not exact. We're not talking about photographic memory. We're not talking about reading a million books and having a photographic memory of every word or picture in those million books. We're talking about we're taking something, right? We're taking something that we enjoy, right? And we're processing it through the filter of everything that we've ever experienced. It's like Molly Grew. There's a reason why Molly Grew's scene hits differently when you're older than when I first saw it. Even though like I kind of understood the tragedy of it, but I was thinking a little bit more literal when I was a child watching that for the first time than being where I'm at now and like, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Well.
Speaking of,
look who's decided to join us.
Okay. So like I am so sorry, Daphne, and I should have come to you in your youth too.
Oh no. Look, how dare you come to me when I am this vlogging by myself.
Bitch, I love you so much. I have been awake. Okay, so like I woke up and I was cramping really bad.
No, the velociraptors came today.
Yeah, so I took a pain pill and I was like, I'll lay down for a little bit, and I set the alarm on my Central.
Oh, right.
And so like Rowan comes in here and she's like, Mom, Dad says we should go ahead and make a Walmart order for dinner tonight. And I was like, okay. And I'm noticing the sun's up really good and stuff now. And I'm like, what time is it? And Rowan didn't say anything. I was like, Alexa, what time is it? And the bitch comes on and I'm like, holy fuck. I was like, Daphne. Holy shit, bro. I am so sorry. But I had to jump on here because I could not let you think that I abandoned you.
Oh, no, not at all. Like I said, we probably figured that you were having a very hard time after the loss of your strawberry.
I want to thank everybody for the donations and kind words. Strawberry was cute.
So did you know what got it, or you're just assuming it could be anything?
I suspect it was a fucking raccoon.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Oh,
but you tried. There should be others.
I did successfully find a blackberry, but I did not plant the blackberries. The birds shitting in my yard planted the blackberries.
Well, that's how it's supposed to work.
But I've protected them.
Right. But,
somewhat.
Just make sure it's the right kind of berry to eat, though.
Oh, Jesus Christ, dude. Do you want me to hang out while you wrap up, or you want me to get the fuck out of here because I've been useless?
Right now, that's fine. That's fine. So Little Dixie says, as long as the new media shows some respect for the source material, I am fine with a remake. And I think that's, that's like I said, Villeneuve, even though he made changes from the Dune novel, I felt that he succeeded in kind of like making the creative decisions that he needed to make, and still like kept the general essence of the story. But there's some people who it's like the mere fact that, I'm not going to watch, it's trash, it's garbage, but in the end, it's like, I think that has to do with a lot more issues than whether, and honestly, it's like, these are people that I feel like really don't respect the creative process if they're that hung up on minutia. I mean, it's like I've literally seen people at the ending of Rogue One complain that they didn't like the movie because the positioning of the ships in the final scene was wrong.
Oh my gosh.
And I go, oh honey, it's like, really, yeah, it's like there's nothing I can do with you. And you know what, it's like, look, and it's like, honestly, it's like, if the people who are going to be like that, in the end, these are not people I want in my audience. It's like, look, the creative process is what it is. It's a messy process. It's messy, it's tedious, it's but it's worth it. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's and I and it's like, yeah, and I have like too much respect of that process to be concerned about some dipshit going about, well, this is wrong, or this shouldn't be there, or this is not historically accurate. And it's like, well, you can go fuck off.
I make my rules.
Right, exactly. As
the only time that bothers me is when people don't follow their own rules. When they set these fucking solid ass rules into place and then they fuck them up.
Right, exactly. But that's and that's something that creators need to be like conscious of as well. It's like, you can play fast and loose, but your story still has to make sense in the context of your story. I mean, it's like, look, we see the difference between what Peter Jackson did and what Amazon did. And all the screaming in the world wasn't going to change a goddamn thing about what Amazon did. So you know what? Don't interact with it if this is not your thing. I mean, it's like, really, it's the same thing with what Peter Jackson, and then it's like, yeah, Peter Jackson doing The Hobbit. And it's like, we don't know her. We don't know her. I only know a 45-minute animated version of that.
Thank you.
You
Oh
know,
my God.
that's all I know. But a Peter Jackson, The Hobbit, I don't know anything about that. You know, and that's all it is. But then again, it's like, you know, maybe in my wise age, you know, that it's like I just don't feel the need to get unhinged over stupid shit.
Speaking words of wisdom.
You know, maybe that has something to do with it. You know, but you know, it's like, oh yeah, it's like Star Trek and now Star Wars are taking the toxic cake. It's a tough one between,
Yeah.
because now I'm seeing with Star Trek, it's like, oh, people complaining that it's like, oh, it got woke, and it's like,
Rich, what have you been watching?
what have you, yeah, really, like, what have you been watching? What were you watching before? You know, but then I had somebody, then I read someone explain that the reason why people are now noticing Star Trek as woke was because when it's because they watched it as a child and they still kept that lack of critical thinking skills
Oh Jesus.
that allowed them that would have allowed them to see the subtext of all the stories. Instead, they just saw the pew-pews, you know?
Oh my God.
They just want the pew-pews. They don't want the underlying story that was already there.
Right.
You know, they don't, it's because they have no critical thinking skills. That's it, you know? It's kind of like
free love.
Yeah. You know,
Free
right.
love,
It's kind of
freedom,
like, you know,
carefree,
how
all
the
everything.
Looney Tunes hits different as an adult. Right, because you need to be an adult to get the jokes.
Eee.
The kids get the pew-pews, but you get the dirty jokes. You know, it's like watching the Muppets, you know? You know, the telephone pole gag.
Oh my God.
No. Oh my goodness. So so we had Nita coming in clutch at the end here. So any final thoughts?
Which I don't even have my initial thoughts yet. So, no. I just had to show up. I can't have you having abandonment issues.
No, that's fine. I kind of figured you were either like, even though your desk is now next to your bed.
All I had to do was roll over. I still got eye boogers.
Right.
Yeah, I ain't even had my morning pee yet. That's how scared I was. Look, I woke up with some straight up adrenaline anxiety. I'm like literally, I'm like rolled over, fell in my chair, pulled the microphone to my mouth, and I'm like, please forgive me, baby. I love you.
It's okay. It's okay. I guess just to remind everybody, next Monday there is no show because I will be at Monsterotica this week and I won't be back until late Monday. So we will be back. Me and Nita, hopefully Nita will be able to kind of like we'll be back on the 18th. And hopefully back to our normal, whatever this is, and maybe not. Maybe the whole point of the show is that it's whatever happens.
Nothing's normal.
Yeah, nothing.
And it never has been. Never.
That's true.
We both like Star Trek.
Yeah. But I'm glad you made it, Nita, even if it was for the last couple of minutes.
Me too. Me too.
Oh my goodness. So I want to thank everybody in the chat for keeping me company, keeping us company now.
Because Nita wouldn't do it.
Right? Happy birthday again to Lou Pons. Everybody say happy birthday to
Lou.
Yeah, and thank you so much to all of our beautiful eyeball people watching from regions beyond. I'm glad that you stuck with us. You could be listening to anything else, but you decided to listen to me, to us at the very end, because you have stuff to do. Because sometimes I don't know whether we should curse or not. You have stuff to do, and you wanted to listen to us in the background instead of like, oh, I don't know, your Spotify playlist or something. I don't know. Listening to Drake again. I don't know. So thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate every single one of you. Like I said, you could be listening to anybody else, but you still Jesus Christ, you stayed with us. So thank you so much. And if you want to learn more about me and my artwork and everything else, including the campaigns that I have links for in the chat, where's my stuff? Okay. You can head on over to my main portfolio site at egoworks.com, EGOWORKS, where you can read Ego Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn for free. But if you prefer your fantasy to be more of a furry Lord of the Rings adventure, you can follow the link over to Tall Tales Online, where you can read an archive of over 1,000 pages there for free, all hand-drawn in meticulous pen and ink detail. That's not historically accurate to anything.
Perfectly accurate.
And don't forget to sign up for my newsletter, either on the websites or here, where you see this QR code right here, where you can keep up to date with all of my art, new art, sketchbooks, comics, Kickstarters, everything, and also get a free PDF comics bundle just for joining. You get to enjoy Ego Raven, Tall Tales, and the Oswald Chronicles for free just for signing up. And again, one last reminder, Ego Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn, Volume 3 is on Kickstarter on pre-launch right now. So I don't have an exact date as to when I'm launching it yet, but the link is in the chat and in the show notes. So make sure you click that notify me, not the bell, but the button, so that Kickstarter sends you an email when the campaign finally goes live. And also we have Adventure Finders by Rod Espinoza, which is also on Kickstarter. This one is live. It has less than 3 weeks left on Kickstarter as well. So check that out. Link, show notes, and chat. So thank you so much again. Thank you so much, Renita, for coming in at the last minute. Right. Just living up to her creating chaos.
Anita
name.
is never late, nor is she early.
There you go. Absolutely.
I see what you mean. That's bullshit. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. We'll do it again the next time.
Yeah, we will.
So there we go. Now we're ending on the right foot. And in the words of the ancients, eat your food, moisturize, mind your business, and do the work. Because when you actually do the work, you never have to fake any of your accomplishments. Thank you so much again, and we'll see you next time.
Toodaloo.
Well, then get your shit together. Get it all together and put it in a backpack. All your shit, so it's together. And if you gotta take it somewhere, you know? Take it to the shit store and sell it. Or put it in a shit museum. I don't care what you do. You just gotta get it together. Get your shit together.
I told him I can be a fighter if you want.